Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucks, powered by Chris Gates Fitness. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Good morning. How are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I don't know why, but I feel better than most Mondays. I feel a little chipper this morning. Maybe I got like an extra half hour sleep than I normally do.
I didn't sleep very much last night. I think
Same.
I was too excited about Andy Rodriguez bobblehead.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I saw the picture that you sent yesterday. I didn't see it in the context of size.
Isn't
That's
it
the
so
bobblehead?
tiny? It's tiny, isn't it? It's the
Yes.
tiniest bobblehead.
That looks pretty ridiculous.
I mean, it's a good looking bobblehead. But yeah, it's so small.
Like Endy. It's tiny like Endy.
Just like Andy. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, you went to the Indianapolis game.
I did. It was a good time.
I heard they lost. Shocking.
Yeah, I didn't stay because apparently they only give away 1,000 of these things. So you got to get to the game like a half hour before gates open. So yeah, it was a 1:30 start time. I got to Indianapolis at like noon. And so by the time like the fourth inning rolled around, I was like, I've been here for 2.5 hours. Ready to roll.
Interesting. Well,
and there's no one interesting, as Murphy will tell us when he comes on. Nobody interesting in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out firsthand too, because they're in Jacksonville this week, and I'm gonna go on Friday probably.
There you go.
So yeah, might be somebody interesting, though I probably won't see them. But before we go any further, Jim, BetOnline is your number one source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, the game starts here. So yeah, fun time in Indianapolis for you.
Yeah, it's a good day.
But
I didn't have to watch the game yesterday, the Pirates game. I heard that wasn't as fun.
Yeah, that was the ending. Let's move on past that. Let's just talk that the Pirates went 4-2 this past week. The Dodgers, they played the Dodgers, went 2-3. Then they went and played the Twins and went 2-3. And in both games, they took the first two games. I mean, they had the opportunity for a sweep both times, weren't successful. I feel like both games were kind of similar in that sense. Now, obviously, the other end, like the Dodgers took an early lead on game 3, and then the Pirates came back. The Pirates took an early lead in game 3, and the Twins came back. But we won't talk about those. Again, we'll move forward. The Pirates went 4-2 this week. Currently in last place, but currently right in the mix for the wild card again. This begs the question, because there's a lot of differences you can go this week, a lot of perspectives this week. Are the Pirates good or are the Pirates bad?
I think the right answer is yes. I think they're exactly what we kind of thought they were heading into the season for the most part. Like, they're a team that's probably going to hover around 500, give or take a few games, for pretty much the entire season. And that's what they've shown us they are up to this point. Like, they were they were maybe a little worse, if you step back about a month or so ago. They have been playing somewhat decent ball as of late. I think May they finished with a below 500 record. June they are above 500. So yeah, they're just a team. Are they good or bad? Yes. That's pretty much it. Now, when it comes to the National League, the advantage that the Pirates kind of have here is, in the NL Central, they're currently in last place, but there are 4 National League teams right now with a 500 record or better. 4, which means there are 2 wild card spots currently being held by teams with under 500 records, and the Pirates are a half game, outside there. Now it's June 10th, so I think it's a little silly to kind of be talking about this because there's still a lot of things that need to shake out. There's 100 games left, basically. So there's gonna be a couple teams that kind of separate themselves from the pack there in that wild card race. There's going to be, I gotta imagine, there are 6 playoff teams in the NL, and all 6 are above 500. Like eventually, we're not to that point yet, but they're right in it. They're right in it. They're not the Rockies or the Marlins right now, right? They're kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah, sure. Like, I don't disagree with anything that you said at all, right? I totally understand it. And that's why I say, like, they're in this weird situation that truly any perspective held on this team could be correct. You can argue that point, and you have every proof to say it. Again, like, if you want to say, hey, there's a lot of hope, like, this team is right where you want them to be. At this point in time, and close to the middle of June, it's June 10th, they're a half game out the wild card. Like, what more could you ask for with this team? You didn't have much expectations. They're a half game out the wild card. It's good stuff. Or you can have the perception of, hey, guys, it's June 10th. This is year 5 of the rebuild. And when Ben Cherington looks at the standings, he's looked and says, hey, we're in last place. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like, that's the frustrating part about it with my perspective. My perspective on this whole thing is, this is a results-oriented business. This is sports, right? You're in last place. When you look at the standings, all right, like, take hope away, take all the outlook, just look at what it is. Like, when you look at the standings, you are in last place. And you had every opportunity this offseason to prevent that. And again, like, that's the frustrating part to me. Yes, there is hope. And we're going to talk a little bit more about maybe why that hope isn't all the way there to truly feel that this team can fight for wild card. But then we'll also talk about how this team could. But like, that's my problem. Like, that's my whole problem with this. And that's why I had that whole tweet about Pirates fans failing the test. I know you said I took this too far. I just want to touch on that. I want to vocalize this, right? Yes, I understand a part of it is like, hey, we got to troll the other guys because they're talking about the team, right? But if you put that in perspective, people were talking about the Dodgers. They lost 2 straight games to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And their mindset was, yeah, it's Paul Skeens. Yes, it's Jared Jones. These guys are electric. These guys are fun. They're being talked about. But it's the Pirates. You are the effing Los Angeles Dodgers. You got to figure it out. Like, you can't use that as an excuse because you're going to see these pitchers in the playoffs. Our mindset is, we're not talking about regular season. We're thinking about playoffs. We're thinking about World Series, right? You can't make excuses for losing 2 straight games to the Pirates. And then when the Pirates lose the 3rd game and I put out the standings that they're in 5th place, the talk is, well, it's okay though. Well, it's okay. Well, we'll think about this. We'll think about that. And it's every excuse of why being in last place on June 8th or so, whatever it was, is okay. And like, again, like, that's the problem. That's the problem I have right now. No, you know what? It is not okay being in last place. Whatever way you want to frame it, you're in last place. You're under 500. It's year 5. And the way this pitching is lined up, what we talked about, the way the starting pitching is, you should be better. You had every opportunity to be better, and you made a choice, and the choice you made was on June 10th, you're in last place.
No, I think it's a fair stance to have. I mean, you look at like the underlying numbers and such too, right? Like run differential doesn't look great. Yeah, I mean they're 31 and 34. So if you would have said like all of those projection systems that people were getting mad about because they had the Pirates as a 75 win team, right? Well, guess what this team's on pace for?
Oh, yes.
77 wins, right? They're on pace for 77 wins. So like they're doing exactly what they were projected to do. And this was a point Pat I think it was Pat Lackey made this on Twitter. Like you can you can get excited about being a half game out of the wild card. Like we are the Pirates we are right in the thick of things, right? And that's fun, right? Like you win a game, you could be in the playoffs if the season ends tomorrow, you know. At the same time, like they're doing exactly what they were projected to do, which was be a below 500 team. And I think you just have to maintain, again, like this is a long season, right? They're in a spot where they can still like strike from, right? They are in it, right? So I think you have to kind of look away from the standings a little bit and just kind of look at the team in general and say, yeah, I mean, they are in last place, right? They're in last place. They're also a half game out of second, right? So like let's kind
of
just
yesterday they were in third.
Yeah. Let's just kind of like step back and look at that. But at the same time realize, hey, they're half game out of second, they're half game out of the wild card spot. There's still so much to shake out here, but currently they are on pace to win 77 games, which is 77 and 85, right? That would be their final record. And guess what? Most projection systems out there had them at 75 to 77 wins. And every single person, right, said that wasn't good enough for year 5. Year 5, 77 and 85 isn't good enough, right?
Right.
So I think that's where you can then make your point here and say that right now they aren't good enough, right? The good news, ever since they've promoted Paul Skeens, they're above 500, right? They're playing pretty good baseball.
I won't stand for this Nick Gonzalez erasure.
And Nick Gonzalez at the same day, Skeens Gonzalez, right? So like they've done some things to make this team better over the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks or so. About I mean it's like a month
actually
now.
Yeah,
it's like right at a month. So
May 11th.
Yeah, so things are trending in the right direction. And when you look at just the makeup of this team, you can see, okay, you know what? These starters are getting it done. The offense is getting it done as of late too. I think you may have been tweeting out some offensive numbers like ever since Gonzalez gotten called up. But like since Gonzalez has been called up, this offense has been top 6, I think, in Major League Baseball. So they're performing. The one issue is middle relief. That's the issue, right? And it's a glaring issue. We saw it this past week. We've seen it a lot. The Pirates are blowing a lot of leads, and they're doing it in those middle innings, right? When they need to either bridge the gap from the starting pitcher to the shutdown guys, or they got to use those guys, Holderman, Chapman, Bednar. They've got to use those guys so often because if there is any semblance of a lead, you can't trust anyone else to hold it except those 3 guys. So you're pitching these guys every single time we have a lead. And it means that you're going to run into a lot of games where they are not available. And so that's what you end up seeing in yesterday's game on Sunday, right? Like the Pirates, Jared Jones got through 5 innings. He had to give way to Kyle Nicholas, who immediately then gave up a run and the lead, right? And they really couldn't go to Bednar or Holderman. You know, they went into extra innings. They had to go to Ben Heller, and that was a disaster. So yeah, I mean, right now they're who we thought we were, and they need to be better. The good news is, I think they can be better. And the one glaring weakness they have, which is middle relief, if they can stay in this position just for a little bit longer and get closer to like when teams start really getting some urgency on trades, that's the easiest part of your team. Easiest part of your team to address anywhere around the deadline. Easiest. So like they've got the hard parts done
through the deadline.
They've got to get to that point. It's because it's hard to make trades right now. It really is. Like their teams just aren't willing to trade people because, like we just talked about, there's like 8 teams with a half game of a playoff spot, right?
Right.
So people don't make moves right now because they don't know what to do. The only 2 teams that are done are the Rockies and the Marlins in the NL. In the AL, there's obviously a few others too. So it's tough to make a move right now. But if this team can stay kind of in this middle ground, or at least like in the hunt for another month, like mid-July, you can really address that need. And again, middle relief, it is the easiest need to address, and it's something that when they're in that position, they have to do it. And if you do that, then you're looking at a team that doesn't really have a whole lot of holes at that point. You can say, oh well, you know, first base, catcher, Swinsky, center field, right? There's that. But like they become a much they become a much more they've become a much more fuller team at that point if they can really address that middle relief issue.
Right. No, I get you. And there, like you said, like there's still a lot of holes, but those aren't exposed as much as the middle relief. You know, like you can still get away with right now with the catching situation and, you know, the right field situation because the offense is still good enough. Now, I just want to bring up a point. Now, it has cooled down quite a bit, though, Jim, when Nick Gonzalez come up. So since May 11th, it's now 99 weighted runs created plus the Pirates. They're in 16th in the league. So it's averaged out. But again, like that's not totally bad. That's what we're talking about because the starting pitching is so good. I mean, there's back-to-back shutouts against the Twins. You saw how, you know, Jared Jones shut out the Dodgers, right? Like this starting pitching can shut down teams, and therefore you don't need the magnificent offense to still win games. It is that bullpen that really has to help them. And like again, like that was exposed. I mean, you talked about this week, and that's what's really going to limit this team from being good. You know, that is kind of the problem right now. Bednar, you know, I jokingly said it on the post game I was on because you guys kept talking about like, is Bednar back? There's always the question, right? Whether he's back or not, he's good. He's been good, like a 1.15 ERA, I think, something like that since May 1st. Very close to that, if not. He's been looking very, very good. He's been shutting down, locking down teams. Holderman has been outstanding, right? Chapman is still like the question mark, but he's shown a lot of flashes of good lately. So that's why I jokingly say, like, you have about 2.5 really good relievers in this bullpen right now. But that's the problem. It's 2.5. Whenever you have a lead, those guys have to come in. There's a reason they were unavailable yesterday because every lead that you had this past week had those guys in the game closing it out to secure the lead. You can't have them pitch 4 times every week, right? All 3 of them, because you're going to have these Jared Jones starts where he pitches well, and then the bullpen gives away the lead, right? Like there's now 20 blown leads on the season by the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's a major problem. And again, like that's what's going to limit them from being good when we talk about are they good or bad, and can they hold up through the All-Star break? So yes, that's, and again, the fact that they're in last place and a half game from the wild card is the frustrating part. Like again, you just mentioned there's 4 teams with a positive record in the NL. They could have set themselves up to be the 5th team. That's the problem. Yes, they are projecting. They could have been better. And had they done so with all these teams under 500 right now, they could have put them in a situation where, as of today, they're looking down on the standings. And that's what's frustrating. Do we want to move on?
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating being the fan of a team with that's basically like they're mediocre. They're not bad, right? They're not good,
And they
but
were
they're
okay
they're
with being mediocre.
Yeah, they're mediocre, and it's frustrating because I think, CL mentions here, like, winning streaks matter. Like, it's fun to kind of see your team stack up wins. And when you're a team like the Pirates and you have those middle relief issues, it's hard to go on a winning streak because in order to go on a winning streak, you need a lot of guys contributing kind of at the same time simultaneously. And when you have 4 guys in your bullpen who you can't rely on, on any given day, and you have to go away from the 3 to 4 that you can, you lose games. And when you lose games, it messes up momentum a little bit. Winning generates more winning. And when you can't string together more than 2 wins at a time, it's frustrating as a fan because it's like every time you think you're taking a step forward, boom, you're hit with a loss that kind of knocks you off your rails a little bit.
Yep.
And that's where this team's at right now. Like, this team it's tough for this team to put together a winning streak because if they do win 2 games in a row, you probably used Bednar, Holderman, Chapman in those 2 games, and now it's game 3, and you're like, oh, well, we got to roll with Kyle Nicholas and Justin Brule and Ben Heller.
Don't forget Ben Heller, baby.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough for this team to stack wins in a row until they can address that issue. But like I said before, if there's a silver lining, if they can do this for another month, which I know we as fans is going to frustrate the hell out of us. But if they can do this for another month where they can stay in it like this, that glaring need, it's going to be very easy to address.
Hopefully. Do we want to move on to Anthony?
Let's do it. While we're bringing him on, obviously this show's brought to you by Chris Gates Fitness. This week, just like every other week. Chris is an online fitness coach from Pittsburgh, a huge Pittsburgh sports fan and friend of the show. Chris works with people all over town, all over the world to chase their fitness goals, whether it be to lose body fat, build muscle, or do both while improving your overall health and wellness. Chris helps people find a sustainable approach with diet and exercise to make progress that sticks. He works with me, been working with me for a little over a year now. Been able to lose quite a bit of weight myself with his help. And he shares a ton of information for free on his social media accounts every single day. If you're looking for tips, tricks, and strategies to use with your diet and exercise, make sure you give him a follow. Just search for Chris Gates Fitness on any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Threads, all of it. You'll find him there. And as we mentioned last week, he's coming out with a really, really special program. Let's just call it that.
Stop doing this to me.
In a little bit over a month, you'll find out. So make sure you're following him because he's going to drop that news. It's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
He did not drop the news to me, by the way. If we're looking for any update,
no,
he did not tell me.
Chris, you're not blessed enough to handle the news.
Clearly, if my beard was a little dirtier, maybe I would.
That's what it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, go check Chris out, even though he won't tell me the secret. But no, for real, let's go ahead and welcome Anthony Murphy from Bucks on Deck to the show, because here is now Starbucks on Deck. Anthony, what's up, my guy?
What's going on, guys? It's another great morning out here, right?
That's right. It is. Yeah. See, it is a good morning.
It is.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
We did get, so just to kick off this part of the podcast here. Last night, news broke Braxton Ashcraft got promoted from Altoona to Indianapolis, which is awesome because that Indianapolis pitching staff right now is bone dry when it comes to anybody who can help out this team. So that was pretty cool news we got last night.
Yeah, it is much deserved and belated, I guess. He's kind of shown the last couple times out there that he's more than ready for AAA or beyond kind of stuff. He's kind of grown past the AA level at this point. So it's good to see someone get a push up in the system right now, which I guess technically could open up a trickle effect, maybe potentially kind of thing. So
I don't want to ruin this. Is Ashcraft one of our 4 guys today or no?
No.
Okay. So before we get into the 4 guys, we just spent some time talking about how this team could really use some bullpen help. And Ashcraft's name gets thrown around there a lot, right? Like he's 24 years old, and you know what? Fangraphs just updated their player pages, I guess, overnight, and it's throwing me off because it's throwing me off a little bit. I got to get used to this. This is a big update for me. So
I haven't seen the player pages yet.
No, yeah.
I literally just opened it and I was like, this is different.
Oh my God. Look at the team stuff. Yeah. What the hell is this?
Yeah. So 24 years old. He's always had some like relief, like people like thinking he's going to be in relief. And I think mostly for the injury issues, being able to go out there and throw a bunch of innings. Right.
Yeah.
But what's your take on that? Like, because he looks really good as a starting pitcher. And I'm one of those people where I'm of the mindset, like, have your guys start until they show they can't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, sometimes if it's a young guy and you're in a playoff race and you need bullpen help, sometimes your top pitching prospects can come out there and do that for a little bit, right? And you see teams like the Brewers employ this strategy, I feel like, all the time, more than anybody. But they'll come up originally, they're starting pitching prospects, and they'll come out of the bullpen, right, and help a winning team with that specific issue. So what's just your mindset on that, and then Ashcraft in particular?
So I wrote about Ashcraft last week, and when I sat down to think about it, the first thing I thought of is, okay, Quinn Priester's out right now. They have some guys down. If you slide Ashcraft to the bullpen and something else happens to a starter, who's the next guy at that point? And I came up with, you're looking at Domingo Germán or Michael Plasmeyer or a bunch of names that, yeah. So
no,
I think Ashcraft's the most value you can get out of him right now is out of the rotation, even if that's going to be in AAA, because that gives you a guy that isn't gonna be like, oh my goodness, this guy is starting in a major league game right now, kind of stuff. And even when you think about it too, I think Ashcraft's biggest attribute, the biggest thing that he brings, is the control and command aspect on it. Like, he has like a 3.5 walk rate or something like that.
Yeah, incredible. He's always really excelled at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you think about that, he keeps the walks down. He doesn't, so he's really efficient. He's a guy that's going to be able to throw, like, he's the string of games where he's thrown like 6 or 7 innings right now is pretty impressive. The only game recently that he hasn't done it was one of a Sunday game after a Tuesday game. So they kind of cut back on the pitches anyways. So you think about it, someone that can go out there and throw 5, 6, 7 innings can do just as much in helping your bullpen, for the fact that you're not going to need those guys on the, like, think about Mitch Keller. The great thing that Mitch does is, like, you can go all out with your bullpen one day because Mitch Keller is going to pitch the next day. You're not going to need your bullpen that much. Yep. Same kind of thing with Ashcraft. He's going to be he can be efficient enough to throw deeper into the game, and then that bridges straight. You could just skip over the guys that you don't want to see out there in that game. So. So, like, I still think at this moment, we're still in June, and then over the next couple months, I feel like there's an argument to make that like he probably doesn't need this time in AAA, like with the control that he's shown and like with the stuff still playing great deeper into games. He's probably a guy that like if you're gonna say that you're not gonna have a starter again this time, that like maybe you line him up to at least go out there and see what you have at this point. I mean, like you know, I mean, it's him or Dalton Jeffries right now on the 40 man, and I think at this point. I would rather see where Braxton Ashcraft is than to see what we probably already know about Dalton Jeffries. So I think if you do decide to do the bullpen thing, the reason you make that decision with him is because this is his first full year, like with less restrictions after Tommy John, and if you have an innings restriction in mind for him, and you're starting to get to that. Then maybe you decide that, okay, well, we're going to have you finish in the bullpen, throwing a couple innings here and there. I don't think he's the kind of guy that you want to make a drastic decision. And yes, the bullpen needs some help. Obviously, needs some help. They need some guys to help bridge to the back ending guys to give them a little bit more of a break. I don't think he's the guy that you want to use that for, because then if you have another starter going down, you're talking about Domingo Germán or Michael Glassmeyer or Dalton Jeffries. You're talking about those guys starting instead. And I'd rather have Ashcraft start than those guys.
I think those are all good points.
Yeah, unfortunately. He used
I think the
rational reason. And
I think you brought up towards the end there something that may make sense though. Like he's thrown, if he gets 4 more outs this season, he will have pitched more innings than he ever has before. 4 more outs.
Yeah.
So when you look at it like that, and this is his first full year coming off of Tommy John surgery. You know, they took it really easy with him last year. Do they just say, okay, you know what? You're at 53 and 2/3 innings right now. Your innings, we probably don't want you throwing more than 90 this year. The best way to do that is to call you up, put you in our bullpen for the rest of the year, and give you 25 relief appearances. You know, like that's where I guess I could see them saying, all right, you know what? You're done starting for the year just because your innings are your innings.
And I know last year, not a great example because they're not at the same like prospect like status kind of thing. But last year was kind of like the same year for Aaron Shortridge, and they got him up to like 130, 140. Now, on the flip side, he's out for the season again this year. So maybe you don't want to push him to that same level, but maybe like 90 innings sounds probably maybe fair. But I could see a scenario to where maybe you push him up a tad over 100. I probably wouldn't go too much further than that. But yeah, the only at least from me now, when I'm looking at just the organization as a whole, I'm not making that switch unless it's solely for Ashcraft's benefit, as far as I want to limit the innings. And then if that's the case, I'm also on top of maybe looking for a reliever. I'm looking for an extra starter too. Maybe if I'm going out and making a trade or making a move or something like that, because when you make that kind of move there, then you're kind of thinning. Like I know the rotation's fairly kind of set and stuff like that, but we know how pitching is. You never kind of know with pitching. So if I'm making a move to the bullpen with Ashcraft, I'm also looking for a starter too, just in case.
That makes sense.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's good. I thought bringing up Ashcraft was going to be very important today too, because I'll say this again. Like when I saw the news last night, I was reading it by Alex Stumpf, and he tweeted it out, and I thought he was going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Let's talk about I literally tweeted, Braxton Ashcraft, you are a Pirates reliever, and then he broke that, and I was like, oh, it's happening. It's like, oh, Indianapolis. But I think what's good to know, though, not to like you stamped it, but like you're kind of alluding, like he is ready for the major leagues. Like he's in Indianapolis right now, but you look at him and he's ready.
I don't see like me personally, like nitpicking. I always say like I would love to see a changeup being used more, kind of, and stuff like that. But like, I mean, he has 3 pitches right now that he can throw for strikes that are above average, borderline plus pitches, and he's found a way to make it work so far. So if you can throw strikes with three different pitches, generally that helps you have success in the majors. So even if it's not a changeup kind of thing, like I said, that me nitpicking, that's what I would like to see. But if you can make it work, you can make it work.
Right.
All right. So let's get to the 4 guys.
Okay. All right. So you guys want some hitting or some pitching first?
I'll tell you what, the people have spoken. They want some hitting, it sounds like. And I feel like this guy's going to be involved. So let's get to it.
Actually, no.
Oh,
we talked about him last week.
I mean, okay, so bring up Charles McAdoo. Like, clearly right now, he's probably from an overall perspective, he's probably the best hitting prospect that the Pirates have right now. Still doing well, still contact, showing a little bit of power. At this point, it's kind of just like I've always said with him. I want to see him at Altoona first before I get incredibly excited about him. But like he's still done a pretty good job of getting me excited overall with what he's done so far. So I think one guy that's worth mentioning too, his teammate, and I kind of pulled up these numbers since like today's June 10th and all that, and I kind of just pulled up numbers since the beginning of June just to kind of see how they're doing month-wise. Tamar Johnson's not having a bad start to the month on there. He's batting 300, it's over 600 slugging. He has 2 home runs. He's walked 5 times. Like I said, I know he dropped off of BA's top 100 list. They had like a podcast show or like a live show on YouTube, and one of them had said that a couple of scouts they had talked to seemed pretty discouraged by him and like that. I've always said me watching him, he's always kind of seemed like one step away from just kind of seeing things click. Like he's not chasing, he's drawing a lot of walks. He's making some contact with stuff. It's just like he's not squaring and barreling stuff up right now. And like I kind of just want a guy to make contact and use like someone with his supposed hitting ability to use all fields, and he's starting to go the other way more. So he's showing me a lot of little stuff. It's just now, but I can see what they're saying. Like it's like a lack of authority when he hits the ball, and we saw a lot of heightened exit velocity numbers, and he showed some power last year and stuff like that. So I just kind of feel like he was just always just one step away, and I feel like maybe he's starting to show signs of it. And so maybe I wouldn't say like, okay, well, tomorrow's back kind of thing, but I think he's heading in the right direction because like I think if he hasn't turned 20 yet, like it's coming within the next couple of days, I believe. He has a June birthday, so and he's a 20-year-old playing in high A. So
yeah, Tamar's birthday is actually tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow is his birthday, but yeah, like you mentioned, nice start to June. Strikeouts are not, alarming, 20.7%. He's still walking a ton. The average is over 300. So, yeah, last week, that series definitely showing some signs you want to see. And I think the thing to remember about Termar, and you keep mentioning it, right, is just his age. He's still so young for where he's at. It's like I'm not concerned with him yet, and I don't think people should be. Dropping him off of a top 100 list is probably, in my opinion, a little unfair, just because of what he's doing at his age. Like the hit tool may not be what we thought it was, but the other stuff is still playing really well. Again, he's not the greatest season he's having, but he's still 21% above the average hitter in high A ball, and he's 3 years younger than the average hitter in high A ball. So I think taking him off prospect lists isn't fair, but Baseball America decided to do that. It is nice to see him though this last week do a little bit more.
Well, I will say too, and that kind of reflects the whole positional value thing and stuff like that with prospects and stuff like that. There's a lot of pressure on Tamar to just hit, because when you're a second base guy, then you don't have much value when it comes to like the prospect rankings and stuff like that. So he's not hitting right now. So which is also too, like, not to get too far like sidetracked and stuff like that. I talk a lot about like the draft on Twitter and stuff like that, and my avoidance of wanting to take like a first base only kind of guy just in general, because like if they don't hit, you're not getting anything from them, kind of stuff. So and they bring up that like he's a second base. He had a couple errors in the game. Tomorrow had a couple errors. He's a second base guy, and he's a second base guy because second base is the kind of the last position you put a guy at defensively, because they don't have kind of the range or the arm and that kind of stuff to play the other positions that are more valuable defensively. So he's played some games at short, and like every now and again he'll make oh well, I mean that's pretty nice and stuff like that. But he's a second baseman.
Got it. Okay. Who we got next?
So there's one guy down in Bradenton, and like it's a fun story to track with him. There was a point like as I was kind of like tracking things, he had the worst weighted runs created plus in all of the minors among qualified hitters, and the worst. It was a negative WRC plus, and he's a guy that like always like I watch him play, and like defensively, you could probably make a case that like right now I'll probably say Jack Brannigan is probably the best defensive shortstop in the system. You can make a very strong case that like Javier Rivas is like really close to him, if not like at the same level. Really good defensively. He hits the ball hard, but he strikes out a ton, and he hits the ball straight into the dirt the majority of the time. So not kind of a guy that you kind of like, okay, well, like he's like the biggest like what if thing down in the lower levels. Like he'll never get out of Bradenton, but like he's fun to watch because every now and again he'll run into a ball and it'll be fun. This month he's batting .450. He's slugging 1,000. He has 3 home runs. He had 1 home run in the first 2 months of the season. He has 3 this month already. He has six of his 11 hits have been extra bases hit. Has gone for extra bases. He's walking a little bit, and I mean, I still think he's striking out a little bit, but like he's kind of having like the stretch right now that kind of like in the back of my head is like, man, he would be really exciting to watch if he just made a little more contact here, and he actually elevated the ball, and he's doing both of those things right now, and it's been really fun to watch. And was it Bradenton took 4 out of 6 against Clearwater, and I think like Clearwater is like far ahead of everyone else in the standings right now, except maybe like one other team. But like they've created some separation from most of the other teams right now. And the Marauders went in there and took 4 out of 6 with them against them, and like Rivas was like a big part of it. So like the numbers
still Rivas
look bad.
Yeah, Rivas was he was awful last year. He was terrible.
Yeah. He was horrible at the beginning of the year too.
Yeah, so he was a guy who I kind of had just completely written off because of how bad last year was.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the last name didn't help. Wasn't a favorable name in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's just I mean hot start to June is one thing. There's a little bit of a pedigree here too, right? I mean he came out of where was he from? Dominican Republic?
I believe so, yeah.
And I think he got like a decent signing bonus. Like he wasn't just like a nobody type filler guy. Like he
I mean he's got like talk about like the O'Neal Cruz like 6'7" shortstop. Like Rivas isn't that far off. Like he's a big guy for playing shortstop, and he can handle like the position like well. Like he moves really well. He has a cannon for an arm. And just like his first step to the ball is just like incredible. Like there's like no doubt in my mind, like he can play shortstop, like no matter however far up in the system he goes. And like I like this is like a hot streak or something like that. I don't think he's necessarily finally putting it all together. But forever far he gets in the system, he can handle shortstop with the best of them, I feel like. So
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it looks like he was the number 60. He was ranked as the number 60 prospect coming out that year he signed. But, well, yeah, I mean, someone to keep an eye on. A little bit of a pedigree there, like you mentioned, like 6'6". That's not normal for a shortstop.
No, and he
The
moves
power,
really well too.
he is showing some more power this year, which is good to see because he didn't really have any last year.
Yeah, the exit velocity numbers had always been like okay with him. It's just like he would beat everything into the dirt. Like nothing was elevated. So it's kind of like you just overlook it because like it doesn't look like he has any power and it doesn't translate into the game kind of thing. But like he can hit the ball fairly hard, and now it's just getting up a little bit, and like he's having some success right now. So
he's got two. He's Rule 5 eligible.
yeah,
so
yeah.
You know, he's really long. He's got some work to do. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like he's way down there. He's gonna be the kind of guys that like I like the deep end like prospect guys get excited about every now and again. But like long term, like I wouldn't expect too much kind of thing. So
got it. All right. Well, how about pitching? What are we seeing on the mound these days?
So pitching wise, so Bubba Chandler had a pretty good week. He his game on he had the Tuesday Sunday games. They obviously he's just coming back, so he only pitched 3 innings on Sunday. But I'm not going to say the Saturday game was the best I've ever seen him, but it was probably up there with just overall how he looked. He was throwing strikes, didn't walk anybody, struck out 5 over 5. The only run that he allowed was, I think it was like a runner got on from catcher's interference or something like that, and then he ended up scoring. Just looked really controlled, got up to 97, 98 with the fastball. Showed it looked like a little bit of a cutter against righties, which looked really good. Got some swings and misses with it. I think that's the biggest thing that from Bubba that I've been wanting to see is like a secondary pitch to go against righties more often. That to have a little more success with. Like he's got the fastball. He can blow the fastball by anybody. Has elite movement and stuff like that. The changeup is really good against lefties. So like lefties are handled. I just wanted a more consistent and like the slider and breaking ball, whatever you want to call them, like that. It has its moments. I just think that like the shape isn't overall great. So maybe it's not going to have the bite that you would want to kind of be like a wipeout pitch. So him showing like a cutter, like maybe up in the zone a little bit more, maybe will help with that down the road. Now that's kind of like 2 different looks off the plate against the righties now. So, but for where he was kind of at like a month ago with the control and stuff like that, he's come a long way very quickly. It feels like.
Yeah, it looks like this week, like I said, you mentioned the 2 starts. He went 8 innings total, struck out 7, didn't walk a batter. So those were his first 2.
Runs he allowed was unearned.
Yeah, and those were the first 2 outings he's had this year where he had 0 walks. So, yeah, 3 unearned runs given up this week, no walks, 8 hits, 8 innings, 0 run. Yeah, so 0 ERA. Yeah, I mean, you just want to kind of see him just keep stacking good outings there in AA.
Yeah.
I think he strikes me as someone who's probably going to be at that level all season. Like, I don't think there's a reason to really rush him. But yeah, you want to see him definitely hone in on his command a little bit and demonstrate that he can go deep into games.
The only way that like obviously he threw over 100 innings last year, but you're still probably watching how many innings he throws. Usually Indianapolis has an extra like 2 weeks of season after Altoona. So I think the only way you kind of see him anywhere other than Altoona is if he's still in a good place innings wise, and maybe you want to throw him up in Indianapolis maybe give him like a what looks to be like an opener kind of thing, like throw him in there for the first like inning or 2 or something like that, just to kind of get a taste for it. But other than that, I don't think there's any kind of rush to see him anywhere but Altoona this year. Let him kind of just keep working on the stuff. Something's worked this week. Something's been working since he's been back from the injured list. So just see if he could just kind of continue it.
Yeah, I can see that too. That's a good point. They seem to like want to give him that little taste of Indy before they go up the following year.
Yeah. And dude, like if he's done really well with the innings, might as well. Like if you still have some innings to give, there's no reason not to just. If there's a chance to get him to exactly where you kind of wanted him to be at innings wise, and you have the opportunity to do it, might as well, even if it's like out of the bullpen or very like short outings at the beginning of the game kind of thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So good week out of Bubba. Who's our last guy?
Another Altoona pitcher. Ho-Yu Chen. He is someone that I've never been overly high on.
I was gonna say that's the first time I've heard that name in a while.
Yeah, he's not. He got off to a really bad start. He had like a ERA like nearly 8 in April, right around 5 in May. 2 starts this month, just 2 earned runs over 14 innings, struck out 14. He pitched 8 innings on Thursday, Friday. One of his last start was in Richmond. 8 innings, 9 strikeouts, only allowed 1 run. So he's more, he's like one of the crafty stuff junk kind of thrower things. He throws like 5-6 different pitches. Fastball isn't gonna blow by anybody. If he's not locating like the curve and like the slider and stuff like that, he'll probably get around. The splitter's a really good pitch. He has a really good splitter. Just because of the not great fastball, lack of command really of it. The curveball is really big and loopy, so sometimes he struggles to throw it for strikes and stuff like that. Just kind of, if it's not on, he gets beat up really bad kind of stuff. So just not an overwhelming kind of guy. But I think someone brought it up on Twitter. Like he got off to a pretty slow start last year in Greensboro, and then he finished pretty strong overall. So like maybe he's just kind of a slow starter kind of thing. But like I said, I've just never really been high on him too much.
Yeah, the splitter is certainly interesting with him because it is a really good pitch. And yeah, he started off terribly. I feel like he was somewhat heralded, when he first came over here, but really just kind of struggled.
He got a pretty good bonus when he signed, and there was a lot of talk about him and stuff like that. And like when he started his pro career, he went straight to the complex and like he pitched like 30 some innings or something like that, and then didn't walk anybody.
Yeah.
So the command control was really good. He made a quick little jump up to Bradenton that first year, and he got beat up pretty rough. But like I think a lot of pitchers struggle when they first make that jump, because the ADS, it's a different strike zone. You got to kind of learn that kind of stuff there. So he spent the following year all in Bradenton. Like he's always a guy that pitches well, but just never enough really to maybe get that kind of momentum to maybe be that kind of guy at like the highest level kind of thing. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, good. He's at back-to-back starts where he's given up just 1 run in Altoona. Yeah. So he definitely started the season off. It was a rough start for him, but seems to be kind of settling in a little bit. So.
Cool stuff, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Murphy.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Murphy, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, get Ashcraft up here.
I mean, I did what I could. I wrote about him. Me and Nola talked about him on the podcast last week. I mean, we've been hyping the guy up.
You did your job.
You did your job. I did what I had to do.
That's it. Well, as always, definitely appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, of course.
And so plug your stuff again for us. Where do we find it?
Bucks on Deck Substack. Go and subscribe. Like I said, I think I mentioned in the last week, we're going to have our midseason updated rankings released at some point this week. They're ready. I just don't know which day I'm going to release them. Go take a look. There's some pretty nice, pretty drastic changes on some, not too drastic on it in a couple months, but should be some interesting movement with that within the system. So be on the lookout for those.
All right. Well, Murphy, we'll see you next week. Talk some more. Hopefully, some really good stuff again.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Appreciate you, man.
We'll see you. Thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.
I need Ashcraft in the bullpen, but besides that, let's move forward.
Yeah, I think eventually we'll see him. I do think
that would be my play. full force Ashcraft in the bullpen, finish your development right there. And then you talk about the innings, especially because of that. Like, here's how we're going to make sense of it all. But he makes some very valid points too. I can see that the starting pitching depth has really taken a hit. So
if you can get Perez and Priester back, where like Priester goes back to being that number 6 guy, then I think there's a little bit more wiggle room. But as it stands right now, I see that.
Cool. Well, you know what time it is now then. The
Pirates'
what time is it next now? Series is finally, for the first time in 2024, the St. Louis Cardinals.
That is June 11th, and first series against St. Louis. That's wild.
So, as every division game right now, so much meaning because we see where the standings are. Literally, I mean, it's the Brewers and the rest. And as of right now, excuse me, the Pirates and the Cardinals are part of that rest, and they are going to play the series. And like they're just the Cardinals. I felt like we were writing off to a degree. Like they're just bad, but it's the Cardinals. Maybe they're going to find some way. And I felt like that's kind of what happened this year. I mean, they started off really bad. I was like, yeah, it's the Cardinals you expected. Like, then Contreras goes out with that crazy injury, right? The broken hand. And they felt like, you know what? We're going to be better. And they've rose to the standings. They bypassed the Pirates, everyone else. It's a very, I feel like, evenly matched matchup here.
Yeah. When Contreras went out, I kind of wrote them off, right?
Right.
You look at them on May 11th, this Cardinals team was 15-24, coming off a 7-game losing streak, right? 15-24. Since then, they're 16-9. So like this Cardinals team's playing better than any other team in that like middle of the pack there. Like,
and you know who else wrote them off, Jim?
Who did?
Friend of the show, Dan Zamborski, because it was on that day that streak started as well.
That's true. This is all Dan's fault.
If we want to put blame on this, yes, it's Dan Zamborski's fault.
If the Cardinals end up making the playoffs over the Pirates, we got to have Dan on the show to just berate him. Because, he went hard after the Cardinals after that losing streak. And ever since then, it's been like just a light switch flipped. So,
right.
Like they've been playing good. They've been playing good ball lately. And it's always scary because, you always know about the Cardinals devil magic. It definitely took a year off last year, but you hope that it's not back. Yeah, they're playing pretty well. Mason Wynn, 22-year-old shortstop, he's turned it on. He's having a really good season. Paul Goldschmidt, who, I think a lot of people kind of just wrote off. He's been playing a lot better as of late. So like their veterans are.
I just want to interject here. I think this aspect, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, Riley Tellez is awful. The Pirates could have a shot at this. Who are, it's like looking around the landscape, like who are some first base targets? And it was, well, Paul Goldschmidt could be one because the Cardinals are bad.
Mm-hmm.
But Paul Goldschmidt stinks. I don't know if he's like a legit target. And then the Cardinals are good. And Paul Goldschmidt has also turned it on. So, it's funny. Like you're talking about, this shows some irony here, how a few weeks have changed so much.
Yeah. And I think they've found guys who they're going to play every day. Like that's another thing too with this Cardinals team is you see the Pirates a lot of times messing with lineups, swapping things out a lot, using their bench a whole lot. The Cardinals don't do that. Like Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman, Nolan Arenado, Brendan Donovan, those guys play every day at their position, and they're pretty much slotted in the same spot in the batting order day in, day out. So they've got their regulars, and they've just been playing a whole lot better lately. Arenado's been playing better. Gorman's playing really well. It's a team where it certainly has some star power, with Goldschmidt and Arenado, and pitching wise, it's a bunch of veterans. Sonny Gray, who's having an outstanding season, Lance Lynn, who's looked pretty good, Kyle Gibson looking good, Miles Mikolas.
Sorry,
he's had a little bit of a rough go, so the Pirates will get him, but they do run into Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn this series, who are both having Gray's having a great season. Lynn's having a pretty good one as well.
Yeah, so that's the one I got to here as well. Like the pitching. We talked about Lance Lynn. We talked about Kyle Gibson. We would like those signs for the Pirates. And I know we got a little bit of trolling going on about those guys are washed. They're terrible. Yeah, Lance Lynn's looking. No, we won't face Kyle Gibson, but Pirates are going to face Lance Lynn. And yeah, he's having a 3.58 ERA on the year now, which inflated a bit because his last start wasn't too good. But he's had a resurgence. And that's why I talk about like Grandal, which hasn't shown. Like I just felt like those guys getting out of Chicago and that White Sox organization could do a lot of benefit. It's doing a lot of benefit for Lance Lynn right now. Of course, returning back home to the St. Louis Cardinals maybe helps a little more than Grandal returns to the Pirates. But yeah, he's looking good. And then, like you mentioned, we're going to face that ace from them. And he's looking so good. Sonny Gray, he's looking really good this year. So that's going to be tough. But the Pirates will Tuesday's Paul Skeens Day. I'm excited. And again, like one thing you're talking about the Pirates, we're talking about the pitching on the Cardinal side, but it's Paul Skeens, it's Mitch Keller, it's Bailey Falter. I mean, like, once again, you can't ask for too much better. You feel confident with those guys. And now with Sunday, the good guys getting the rest, there's an off day today. Come Tuesday, like, this bullpen should be refreshed, ready to use. So at least, for Tuesday, Wednesday, you're pretty much going to have a full bullpen to use. So like, there's two wins that you could probably, like, you feel kind of comfortable going in here and sneaking out 2 wins.
I mean, if you're a Pirates fan, you have to go in expecting that you're winning every Paul Skeens start. And you're winning Mitch Keller starts, because that's what they've shown you is what happens. Like, those two guys,
literally, Mitch Keller is winning 6 in a row.
6 wins in a row. Paul Skeens, same deal. Like, the Pirates win when Paul Skeens pitches. Their offense is clicking. He performs well. Yeah, it's been a good recipe so far for the last month or so. So yeah, I feel good about this series. It's in St. Louis, but yeah, things line up nicely. Like Paul Skeens versus Miles Mikolas, you feel good about that game, and then you basically have Falter, Gray, Keller, Lynn, and with the way Keller's pitching, I'll take Keller over Lynn. Sonny Gray, better pitcher than Falter, but also, like, Falter's shown you he can go out there and just throw 8 scoreless innings like every once in a while. He's done it,
right?
So yeah, you feel good about this series, and it's a big series because we haven't faced the Cardinals yet. So this is starting like kind of the season series with St. Louis, and we talked about it for a while to start the show. These teams are all lumped together. So if you want to make the playoffs, the Pirates have to be better than the St. Louis Cardinals from this point forward. They have to be better than them. They are they're a half game behind the Cardinals. If the Pirates are not better than the Cardinals from this point, June 10th to the end of the season, they're probably not making the playoffs, right?
Right.
So they have to be better than the Cardinals. A good way to ensure that you're better than the Cardinals is to beat the Cardinals when you're playing them head to head, right? I think Bob Walk always talks about it when he's on the broadcast. These games almost count double, right? Because if you win, they lose like automatically, right? Whereas yesterday, if the Pirates would have won, guess what? The Cardinals also could have won. But like, these games, these matter a lot because you're facing we talk about those 5-6 teams that are jumbled up there. The only way to make the playoffs is to be better than them. So you've got to go out there and beat them when you're head to head. And so this is the start of that with the Cardinals this year.
100%. 100%. The games are definitely getting more meaningful right now. I get it. It is June 10th, right? Understand. But like you making that point here, like this is why these are weighted a little bit more right now. But yeah, so again, like it is kind of weird the first time that the Cardinals and the Pirates are facing off. Though I do want to say, Paul Skeens has met Lars Nootbaar so far in AAA, and he made him look silly.
Yeah.
So there's that, because Nootbaar's also having a really, really good season so far. But yeah, so again, I know how we started at the beginning of the show. There is hope. There is
IL,
optimism.
though, by the way.
What's that?
He's on the IL though, so that's good.
Oh, my bad. He went back to the IL. Okay, never mind then. I thought he was back off of it. Okay, cool. But yeah, so like I said, the way we started this show, like this is the point of it. There is hope. There is optimism. There's a lot of stuff that you can look at and feel good about. And again, it definitely is a starting pitching, but they have to find a way to hold those leads, assuming they get them, which you can feel pretty confident they're going to get one with Paul Skeens, because he shuts teams down. And as Lou here in the chat, the Pirates love to score when he starts too. So minimum 5 runs tonight, or tomorrow, I should say. Minimum 5 runs. Offense is breaking out.
Yeah, the offense scores when Skeens starts.
Right. So, but yeah, like I look at this and say there's clearly a path that they can win 2 out of 3, and they're going to need to. They need to start stacking. They started to, again, as we talk about 2 out of 3 the past 2 series. Let's start stacking some series wins, and that way you can tread to the trade deadline, be where you need to be, and make those needed improvements that you're desperately needing to make.
Yeah. This will actually be, then this was the whole, this is kind of looking ahead though, but we mentioned how Jared Jones was kind of limited yesterday because of the 4 days rest. This week, we will see Paul Skeens' first 4 days rest in the majors.
Okay. So he's got to make this one count.
Yeah. Skeens going Tuesday, Sunday this week.
Great. Sunday's going to be fun when he's limited to 5 innings and the bullpen's tired. All right. Cool, though.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Let's get out of here.
We are just under 2 weeks from the Tailgate, Jim. So June 22nd, if you haven't, of course, the link is in the description, in the podcast description as well. Go ahead and click it. RSVP. We see the RSVP still coming. So if you want to secure yourself a Permane Brothers sandwich, because the Tailgate is sponsored and catered, food provided by Permane's, go ahead and RSVP, and then we'll see you. We'll see you Sunday for the Catch Bubblehead night.
Saturday.
That too. Stay long enough. We'll also see you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Which I guess we can tease a little bit too. We're going to be doing the post-game show live at Permane Brothers in Market Square.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be super fun. So yeah, Tailgate, go to the game, and then everyone is welcome to, walk downtown, and we'll be doing the post-game show live from Market Square Permane's, which it should be a blast.
For sure.
If you haven't had enough Permane's, during lunch, come back to Permane's. Just make it a whole, Yinsplosion weekend.
Yeah, it's a month before Yinzer Palooza.
Right.
It's Yinsplosion followed up by Yinzer Palooza the next month.
There we go.
There it is. All right, let's get out of here. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Cody and I will be on the post game for Paul Skeens Day. So bye-bye.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.